Says it's live. Says it's going through. There we go. This may take a few seconds. It's not the few seconds it takes. It's the extra few seconds that you show that I wasn't ready for. Oh, anyway, it's taking me a few minutes to get some things set up today because I'm using a different setup. I have my gaming laptop set up here. I'm using a new mic I got for Christmas for professional streaming, and I've set my camera up a little higher as well, which is a Razer Kio. I actually really like it. It's a nice camera. And as you can see, I've definitely done my hair this morning. Doing a little Dragon Ball style, I guess you might say. That's something aside from all that, I actually wanted to get on today, and I ended a contract recently, and I'm about to start another one, and I had some questions thrown at me at the end of my contract, which really made me think about my career and where it's gone, where it's been, why I've become this career contractor, I guess you might say. It's not anything that I've chosen. It's really kind of been chosen for me more often than not. And I think at this time, with all the changes going on in careers and jobs and stuff, I think it's a good time to kind of approach what it means for candidates, what it means for employees as a contractor, and kind of go over some of the things I've seen over the last 10 plus years of contracting that I've done. And additionally, maybe hopefully if there's some hiring managers or companies listening to this, perhaps some of them that are, we'll say, behaving poorly with regards to contractors and temp workers will change their ways. It's hard to say. It's a very subjective thing because, to start with, contractors don't necessarily have a lot of rights. All right, all the nice employee laws that protect employees from things, most contractors are removed from. So first of all, it really puts you in a wild west kind of a situation. All right, understand that. Okay, there's a lot of laws that protect direct hire FTE employees that will not apply to you as a contractor. Okay, so if you find yourself in this great shakeup, this great time of change, looking at a contract position because maybe the money's good, or maybe you're not sure about the company, or in my case, I guess companies aren't sure about me, so they put me on contract, and then when they see what I can do, they're like, when can we hire you? Just never works that way. But really what you should focus on is the company. I mean, I question companies lately that bring in people as contract to hire, right? It kind of makes me wonder why they don't want to make that commitment with the person. And a lot of times it's just project work related, but it's not valid, right? If you're actually looking at growth, if you're actually looking at upward movement, then wouldn't you hire somebody full time? If you expect this person to be a high performer and stuff, wouldn't you put out an offer rather than potentially lose them to a full-time offer somewhere else? So a lot of times the mentality I think that goes into making the decision as a hiring manager to hire contractors versus full-time is a little, I don't want to say messed up, but is definitely a little off compared to what's the most likely reality. But as an employee, what we find is contractors are brought in these larger companies especially to help fill in gaps, right? You're brought in to help take care of a large workload. You're potentially brought in as contract to hire. All kinds of different situations that could justify a company's reason for hiring you as a contractor versus FTE directly. In my case, for some companies, it has to do with time to hire. With an FTE interview process, it can take a month, 2 months at some companies to get through and get everybody approved. Whereas if you get somebody in on a contract, that can usually take about a week or so of interviewing and then just getting some minor approvals through, and boom, you're done. The big danger there, I think, is that the mentality becomes in the company that if I can have you doing it on contract without adding the additional risk of you being a full-time employee, then why would I add you as a full-time employee? So there has to be some cost relative benefit there. I don't think a lot of companies see that. I think maybe they see it, but they realize, what's the saying? Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? And I think there is some truth to that. In this case, it's, why extend the risk when you've already getting what you wanted with a lower risk potential? And that sounds great for the company, but for the employee, for the contractor, it's not so great. It leads to things like being treated differently than your full-time employees. It leads to things like being promised FTE jobs as a carrot hanging over your head, only to be pulled away at the very end of your contract and kind of screwed as you're being pushed out the door. So contracting is interesting that way. I honestly, at this point in my career, I don't recommend it. I think as an employee, if you're faced with the decision to choose a contract or an FTE role, or you're faced with the decision to take an immediate contract or, go FTE or wait to see if you can go FTE somewhere, I would say wait. Unless you are in a dire financial situation where you absolutely have to take a contract today, I would definitely say wait and push for a full-time role from somewhere. There just isn't enough commitment from companies. Not just that, but it's really hit and miss when it comes to the quality of work environment that you're going to have. All right. First of all, you're not an FTE. They aren't going to treat you like an FTE. And again, you have no employee protections under the law. Very limited. Very, very limited. Some companies will treat you well. I mean, for me, it's been, again, hit and miss. Some of the smallest companies in industries you wouldn't think would pay so well have been the best to me, as well as the best to me when I've left to go elsewhere. And other companies that are, you would think, oh, they're so great, they're so big, they're so wonderful. They've treated me the worst, both while I was there and as I was heading out the door to go somewhere else. And I think those are the instances where it's the most telling of what your life would have been like had you actually been able to go FTE at those companies. So I really don't cry about it when I don't get FTE at some of these companies. But at the same time, I think it's very telling to their operation, their processes and stuff as well. So I kind of just rate that as good for me, lucky. I didn't get stuck at a company that would have just driven me crazy, and I probably just would have been a depressed, hateful wreck at. But yeah, so I think that when it comes to the corporate side of things and looking at contractors versus FTEs, I think you really need to look at what you're hiring for. And be upfront with people. I've had so many companies calling me and telling me, oh, it's this long, it's that long, it's, it could be this long, but it's really, let's face it, when the work's done, the work's done. All right. If you're only hiring against your workload, then that's the reality. Once you get X number of people hired, the work's done, go on your way. But if there's opportunity there to go FTE, I would recommend that, especially at this time, companies take that jump. You take that risk on those people. You see if they're going to work for your company up front. I mean, don't mess around with contract, because you're really just, one, you're leaving the door open for somebody else to offer them a full-time job. And two, the odds are your company does not treat contractors very well. The odds are that you're going to push this person to a point where they don't really want to work for your company. So unless you're a really good company and you know for a fact that you guys treat your contractors exactly the same way that you treat your full-time employees, I would always recommend hiring FTE over contract. So you're going to get a better worker. You're going to get a more dedicated employee. And in the end, you're going to get somebody that's, fully vested. I mean, I fully vest myself as a contractor in these companies, but I haven't really seen it pay off very much. I've had a couple companies want to convert me to full-time, and then the timing doesn't work out. But other than that, it's usually go in, bust it, and then move on to somewhere else that you have to go clean up. So, yeah, contracting is just an interesting thing. And with the way the market is right now, you don't have to take a contract. You can hold out for the full-time roles, and you should. So going in the weekend, remember that. Contract? No. Full-time? Yes. And, yeah, just go from there, people. Have a good weekend. Have fun. Bye, everybody.